What is the so-called integration agreement? How can you extend your residence permit? And when is permanent residence or the acquisition of Austrian citizenship possible? All of these topics are explained in this StartWien video. First, let's look at the integration agreement. Anyone wishing to settle in Austria for family reunification must fulfill the Integrationsvereinbarung, the integration agreement. In principle, you apply for family reunification at the Austrian embassy in your home country. There are prerequisites for the first application. Among other things, you need a valid German A1 certificate, which must not be older than 1 year at the time of submission. Only certificates from the Österreichische Sprachdiplom Deutsch, Goethe-Institut, TELK, and from the Österreichische Integrationsfonds are valid. You must also sign the integration agreement. With this signature, you commit to further improve your knowledge of the German language and to become more familiar with the values of Austrian society. The integration agreement consists of 2 modules. You must complete Module 1 within 2 years of being granted your first residence permit. Among other things, you can take an integration test. The integration test for Module 1 of the integration agreement consists of 2 parts, German A2 and Austrian values. You must complete both parts successfully. My tip, with the so-called federal voucher, the Bundesgutschein, you get around 50% of the course costs back for German A2 if you pass the exam within 18 months of the date the voucher was issued. Module 2 of the integration agreement is one of the requirements for permanent residence in Austria. To fulfill Module 2, you can also take an integration test, among other things. The integration test for Module 2 consists of German B1 and in-depth knowledge of Austria. You will only receive the residence permit, Dauer Aufenthalt EU, if you can prove that you have successfully completed Module 2. Only certificates from the Österreichische Integrationsfonds are valid for both integration tests, Module 1 and Module 2. You can find more information on the website integrationsfonds.at. We will use an example to look at how the integration agreement and residence permit are related. We met David in our video about family reunification. His wife Linda lives and works in Vienna. David and Linda moved from Canada to Vienna together with their daughter. He and the child have received the Rot-Weiß-Rot Karte Plus residence permit for 1 year. This card allows David to work in Austria. Well, before his residence permit expires, David applies for an extension to the MA35 Immigration Authority. To do so, he must meet the requirements. The most important are sufficient income, a customary local residence, and health insurance. The application for a renewal is approved, and David's second Rot-Weiß-Rot Karte Plus is again valid for a year. For the next renewal, David completes the integration exam for Module 1 of the integration agreement. David gets a Rot-Weiß-Rot Karte Plus, which is now valid for 3 years. Because he has to fulfill Module 2 of the integration agreement for the next extension, he completed his second, more in-depth integration test. Now David gets a permanent EU residence permit for 5 years. Without proof of the fulfillment of Module 2 of the integration agreement, David could have only renewed the Rot-Weiß-Rot Karte Plus for another 3 years. Now pay attention. For each renewal, David's passport must be valid for at least as long as his respective residence permit. What does David's example show us? The following applies to relatives of citizens from Austria or third countries. After 5 years of settlement and fulfillment of the other requirements, the residence permit, Daueraufenthalt EU, can be issued. This is an unlimited right of establishment. The residence permit itself is issued for 5 years and can then be extended at the MA35. Permanent residence in the EU gives you more rights in Austria. For example, entitlement to community housing. Attention, if you are outside the EU for more than 12 months at a time, you will lose your permanent residence status. My tip? You can get free advice on all aspects of long-term residence in the EU from the advice centers, Migrant and Helping Hands. Babies born in Austria do not automatically receive Austrian citizenship. If neither of the parents is an Austrian citizen, an application for a residence permit for the baby must be filed within 6 months. A child's residence permit depends on the parent's residence permit and is, among other things, a prerequisite for family allowances. How does one get Austrian citizenship? To do this, they must live and work continuously in Austria for at least 6 years and renounce their previous citizenship. You can find more information on residence and citizenship on the MA35 website.